There's a type of tiredness that coffee can't fix. That weight on your shoulders following you from the first hour of the morning until your last breath before sleep. You feel like you're carrying invisible stones. In Japan, this state has a name: tsukare ga tamaranai, when fatigue accumulates in layers so deep you forget what it feels like to be light. But the Japanese discovered something the modern world insists on ignoring. Chronic exhaustion doesn't come from lack of rest. It comes from how you spend your attention while you're awake. There's a Japanese method, passed down through generations, that revolutionizes how we deal with energy. It doesn't involve supplements, crazy routines, or 2-hour meditations. It's more direct, almost uncomfortable in its simplicity, and it works because it attacks the root, not the symptoms. What you're about to discover contradicts everything you've been told about productivity and rest. You've tried everything. 8 hours of sleep, 9, 10 on weekends. You wake up feeling like someone replaced your bones with lead overnight. The pillow doesn't feel soft anymore. It feels like you've been pressing your face against it for too long. And now your neck has that dull ache that follows you into the kitchen. So you rest more. Take naps that leave you groggy. Cancel plans because you just need a day. Stay in bed scrolling until your eyes burn. And somehow, impossibly, you feel worse. This isn't laziness, though you've probably called it that. It's something stranger. We've been taught that rest is the answer to tiredness, which sounds reasonable until you realize it's like saying, the answer to thirst is to stop drinking water because you're tired of being thirsty. The logic breaks down when you actually live it. In Japan, there's this concept called shikata ga nai. It basically means it can't be helped, but it's more about accepting the reality of something instead of fighting it. I'm not sure how much that applies here exactly, but there's something to the way they think about rest. The idea isn't just about sleeping more. It's about what happens when you're not doing anything, and whether that nothing is actually helping or just making things worse. And that's where things get messy, because most of us aren't resting. We're just existing in a weird limbo where we're not asleep but not really awake either. Think about how water tastes when it's been sitting in a glass on your nightstand for 2 days. Flat, dead. That's what happens to your energy when you let it sit too long without moving it around. Your body doesn't store energy like a battery you can just plug in and charge up. It's more like a river that needs to keep flowing or it gets swampy and starts to smell. When you rest without actually needing it, without having spent anything, you're not recharging. You're just sitting in water that's gone bad, wondering why you feel so heavy. The human body wasn't built for this. Our ancestors walked everywhere, carried things, built fires, hunted, gathered, rested when the sun went down because there wasn't much else to do in the dark. They slept hard because they'd earned it. Now we sit in chairs for 12 hours, feel exhausted from doing basically nothing, then lie down for another 8, hoping the math will somehow add up. It doesn't, because we're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist the way we think it does. Here's what actually happens when you rest too much. And I mean really rest, not taking a break, but that thing where you spend whole weekends in bed and still feel like garbage on Monday. Your body starts to forget how to tell the difference between tired and just not wanting to move, between needing actual recovery and just avoiding stuff. Every time you hit snooze, you're teaching your system that waking up is something you can negotiate with. 10 more minutes, 20, an hour. Pretty soon you're waking up already fighting with yourself, and you haven't even opened your eyes yet. There's this thing in Japanese work culture, karoshi, which means death from overwork. Everyone talks about that, but there's this other side of it that nobody mentions. What happens when you underlive? When you rest so much that your body forgets how to be awake. It's not dramatic. It's not sudden. It's just this slow fade where your capacity for being alive shrinks, like a muscle you never use. You become tired not because you've done too much, but because you've done too little, and your body doesn't know what to do with itself anymore. The weird part is that every extra hour of rest you take makes the next day harder. Your body starts expecting it, starts planning for it, starts treating wakefulness like a problem that needs solving instead of just the normal state of things. You wake up already thinking about when you can lie down again, already living in the future where you're resting instead of the present where you're supposed to be doing something, or at least that's what it feels like to me. This is why weekends don't fix you, why sleeping in on Saturday just makes you feel like your head is full of cotton, why vacations sometimes leave you more exhausted than you were before you left. You're teaching your body that life is the hard part and sleep is the reward, that being conscious is the struggle, and your body listens, it believes you. So it starts shutting down a little more each time, conserving energy for a threat that never comes, because the threat is just being awake. The Japanese approach, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't speak Japanese and most of what gets translated sounds more poetic than it probably is, doesn't tell you to rest less. It tells you to rest differently, to stop using rest as an escape hatch from a life you're not actually living, to stop treating tiredness like it's always a problem you can sleep your way out of. Sometimes the exhaustion you feel isn't about needing more hours in bed. It's about not spending the hours you're awake doing anything that matters. When you're only half present during the day, you're only half asleep at night. The math doesn't work because you're not fully anywhere. Your body knows. It knows the difference between tired from actually living and tired from just existing in that weird in-between state. One kind of tired disappears when you sleep. The other kind just sits there getting heavier, turning into that feeling of dragging yourself through every single day like you're walking through wet concrete. The way out isn't more rest. It's having a real reason to get up, spending what you've got instead of trying to save it for some perfect moment that never shows up. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think the Japanese figured this out because they didn't have the luxury of overthinking it. You use your energy or it rots. Simple as that. There's this thing that happens in Japan that doesn't translate well. Not because the language is difficult, but because the whole concept feels alien to how we've been taught to think about energy. We're obsessed with getting more sleep, more coffee, more vitamins, more whatever, when the real issue is that we're bleeding energy in places we don't even notice. The Japanese have a word for this, motai nai. It's usually translated as what a waste, but it's deeper than that. It's this gut feeling of regret when something valuable gets thrown away or used poorly, like when you see good food rotting in the fridge, or talent going nowhere, or, and this is the part nobody talks about, your own attention getting shredded into 1,000 useless pieces throughout the day. Here's what I mean. You wake up and immediately check your phone. Before your feet hit the floor, you've already spent a chunk of energy on emails, news, messages, someone's vacation photos. You didn't decide to spend it. It just leaked out. Then you get to work, or try to, but you're switching between tabs, answering messages, half listening to a podcast, thinking about lunch, checking the time. By noon you're exhausted, and you haven't actually done anything that mattered. This isn't multitasking, it's bleeding out. The Japanese approach to this is almost embarrassingly simple, which is probably why it gets ignored. They don't talk about optimizing your energy or biohacking your focus. They just have this understanding that your attention is a limited resource, and every time you split it, you're not doing two things at half capacity. You're doing two things badly while feeling like garbage. Or maybe that's just how I interpret it. I don't know. There's a practice called Ichigo Ichi. One time, one meeting. It's about treating each moment like it's never going to happen again, which sounds nice and philosophical, until you realize what it actually means in practice. Stop doing 5 things at once. Pick one thing, do that thing, then move to the next thing. Sounds obvious, feels impossible. Because here's what happens when you actually try it. You sit down to write an email, and your brain immediately wants to check if anyone replied to the last one. You start cooking dinner, and your hand reaches for your phone. You're talking to someone and you're already thinking about what you're going to say next instead of hearing what they're saying now. It's like your brain has been trained to scatter itself, and pulling it back together feels like herding cats. But when you do manage it, even for 10 minutes, something shifts. Not in some magical way. Just, you get less tired. The task doesn't drain you as much because you're not spending half your energy fighting yourself to stay focused. You're just doing the thing. One thing, and when it's done, you move on. The modern world hates this idea. Everything is designed to split your attention. Notifications, open tabs, background music, TV on while you're scrolling, podcast playing while you're cooking. We've been sold this story that more input equals more productivity, more connection, more life. But it's the opposite. More input equals more noise, and noise is exhausting even when you don't realize it's happening. I tried this for a week once, doing one thing at a time. No music while working, no phone while eating, no thinking about the next task while finishing the current one. Sounds simple, felt weird, like I was wasting time by not layering activities. But by the third day, I noticed something strange. I wasn't as tired, not because I was doing less, I was actually getting more done, but because I wasn't spending half my energy managing the chaos of doing everything at once. If you want to take this further and make discipline part of who you are, explore the KMA method. It's a short, practical system built to sharpen focus, reinforce self-control, and create lasting consistency in just 5 minutes a day. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment. The Japanese don't make a big deal out of this. It's just built into the culture, tea ceremony, calligraphy, even the way they serve food, one thing at a time, each dish getting its moment. Not because they're trying to be mindful or zen or whatever, just because that's how you actually taste the food instead of shoveling it down while doing 3 other things. We've lost that, or maybe we never had it. Either way, the result is the same. We're tired all the time because we're spending energy on everything and nothing simultaneously. Our attention is like a spotlight that's been smashed into 1,000 tiny beams, and we're wondering why nothing feels clear anymore. There's no secret technique here, no 5-step process. Just this. Stop splitting yourself. When you're doing something, do that thing. When you're with someone, be with that person. When you're resting, actually rest, instead of half-resting while scrolling. It sounds too simple to work, which is probably why most people never try it. But the Japanese figured out a long time ago that the secret to having energy isn't about getting more of it. It's about stopping the leaks. You don't need more hours in the day. You need to stop throwing away the hours you already have by scattering yourself across a dozen meaningless tasks. One thing at a time. That's it. That's the whole secret. And it works not because it's magic, but because it's the only thing that actually makes sense when you stop and think about how energy actually works. You can't pour water into a cup if the cup has holes in it. Fix the holes first, or keep wondering why you're always empty. Let me tell you what multitasking actually is. It's you lying to yourself about how your brain works. You think you're doing 3 things at once. You're not. You're switching between 3 things so fast that it feels like you're doing them all together. And every single switch costs you. Not in some abstract philosophical way. In an actual, physical, this is why you feel like death by 3 p.m. kind of way. There's research on this. Something called switching cost, or cognitive load, or whatever the academics decided to call it. But you don't need a study to know it's real. You've felt it. That moment when you're working on something, someone interrupts you, you deal with the interruption. And when you come back to the original task, it takes you a few seconds, or minutes, to remember where you were. That lag, that's the cost. And you're paying it dozens, maybe hundreds of times a day. The Japanese have always been kind of weird about this. Not in a mystical way, just practical. There's this idea embedded in a lot of their work culture, especially in traditional crafts, that you do one thing until it's done. A sushi chef doesn't make 3 rolls at once while checking his phone and planning tomorrow's menu. He makes one piece, then another, then another. It's repetitive, boring even. But at the end of the day, he's not exhausted in that deep, bone-tired way that comes from doing too many things badly. We've been taught the opposite, that doing more things faster makes you more productive, that if you're only doing one thing, you're wasting time, that the person who can juggle 10 tasks is somehow better than the person who finishes one task well. It's nonsense, but it's everywhere. Job descriptions brag about fast-paced environments and wearing many hats like it's a good thing. It's not. It's just a polite way of saying, You'll be tired all the time and never finish anything properly. Here's what actually happens when you multitask. Let's say you're writing an email. Halfway through, you get a text. You stop, read the text, reply, then go back to the email. Except you don't really go back. You have to reread what you wrote, remember what you were trying to say, find the thread again. That takes energy. Then your brain sees another notification, another switch, another cost. By the time you finish the email, you've spent twice as much energy as you would have if you'd just written it straight through. And the email probably isn't even that good because half your brain was somewhere else the whole time. Multiply that by every task you do in a day, and you start to see why you're exhausted. You're not tired from working, you're tired from switching, from fragmenting yourself into a dozen half-present versions that never actually complete anything. It's like trying to run a race while stopping every 10 feet to tie your shoes. Technically, you're still moving forward, but it's slow, frustrating, and you're going to collapse before you reach the finish line. The trap isn't just that multitasking makes you tired, it's that it makes you feel productive while you're doing it. You're busy, you're responding to things, you're handling multiple tasks. It feels like you're getting a lot done. But at the end of the day, when you look back, you realize you didn't actually finish anything important. You just spent 8 hours being busy, and now you're exhausted with nothing to show for it. So how do you escape it? I wish I had some elegant answer, but it's not complicated. You just stop, pick one thing, do that thing, finish it, move to the next thing. It sounds simple because it is simple. But it's also hard because everything in your environment is designed to pull your attention in 17 directions at once. Start small. Turn off notifications. Close the extra tabs. Put your phone in another room. When you sit down to work on something, work on that thing. Not that thing, plus checking email, plus responding to messages, plus thinking about dinner. Just that thing. You'll probably feel uncomfortable, like you're missing something. Like you should be doing more. That feeling is the addiction talking. Ignore it. I'm not saying you have to become some kind of monk who only does one task per day. I'm saying that when you're doing a task, whatever it is, actually do it instead of spreading yourself so thin that you're not really doing anything. The Japanese figured this out not because they're more disciplined or enlightened, but because they didn't have a choice. When you're making something by hand, you can't multitask. You either focus or you mess it up. Simple as that. The modern world gives you the illusion that you can do everything at once. You can't. Your brain doesn't work that way. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you stop feeling like you're drowning in tasks that never end. One thing at a time. That's it. That's the escape route. Not sexy, not revolutionary. Just the truth you've been avoiding because admitting it means you have to change how you work, and change is uncomfortable. Nobody tells you this, but energy doesn't work like money. You can't save it up and spend it later. You can't earn more by working harder. It's more like a bucket with holes in it, and your job isn't to fill it faster, it's to plug the leaks. Most advice about energy is backwards. Drink more water, get more sleep, take vitamins, eat better, exercise. All of that helps, sure, but if you're still bleeding energy through a dozen tiny holes, none of it matters. You're pouring water into a broken bucket and wondering why you're always thirsty. The Japanese have this concept, well, it's more of an attitude than a concept, about protecting what you have instead of constantly chasing more. It shows up in how they maintain things, how they repair instead of replace, how they treat objects and spaces with a kind of care that feels almost excessive to Western eyes. But it's not about stuff. It's about recognizing that everything has limits, including you, and the smart move is to protect what you've got, instead of burning through it and hoping you can restock later. So where's your energy going? Most people can't answer that. They just know they're tired. But if you actually pay attention for a day, really pay attention, you start to notice the leaks. The person at work who drains you every time they talk. The app you open out of habit that leaves you feeling worse. The commitment you said yes to months ago that you now dread. The argument you keep having in your head with someone who isn't even there. The news cycle that makes your chest tight. The clutter in your space that makes your brain feel cluttered too. Each one of those things is a leak, small enough that you don't notice it in the moment, but add them all up, and you're losing more energy to leaks than you're spending on things that actually matter. Here's the uncomfortable part. You probably know what most of your leaks are. You just haven't done anything about them because fixing them requires confrontation or change or admitting you made a mistake. So you let them keep draining you, day after day, week after week. And then you wonder why you're exhausted all the time even though you're taking care of yourself. Protecting your energy isn't about being selfish or building walls or cutting everyone out of your life. It's about being honest about what cost you and whether that cost is worth it. Some things are worth the energy. Most things aren't. But we treat everything like it's equally important, so we spend energy on garbage and then have nothing left for what actually matters. The Japanese approach this differently, or at least that's the impression I get. There's a reason they have words for things like kintsugi, which is repairing broken pottery with gold to make it more beautiful. It's not just about fixing things. It's about recognizing value in what you already have and protecting it instead of throwing it away and buying something new. Your energy works the same way. You don't need more. You need to stop wasting what you've got. Start noticing what tires you out, not the obvious stuff like work or exercise, the subtle stuff, the conversation that leaves you feeling drained, the social media scroll that eats an hour and gives you nothing back, the friend who only calls when they need something, the hobby you don't even enjoy anymore but keep doing out of habit, the mental loops you run where you replay the same argument or worry about the same thing over and over. Those are your leaks, and every single one of them is optional. You just have to be willing to plug them, which means saying no or setting boundaries or walking away or letting go. Most people won't do it because it feels mean or uncomfortable or like they're giving up. But protecting your energy isn't giving up. It's the only way to have enough left over for the things that actually matter. I'm not great at this, to be honest. I still say yes to things I don't want to do. I still let certain people drain me. I still scroll when I should be sleeping. But I'm getting better at noticing the leaks, and that's the first step. You can't plug a hole if you don't know it's there. The point is, stop trying to get more energy. Start protecting the energy you already have. Figure out where it's going, cut out what's not worth it, and guard the rest like it's the only thing that matters. I'm going to tell you something that sounds too simple to work, and you're probably going to dismiss it. That's fine. Most people do. But the Japanese have been doing some version of this for generations, and it's one of those things that seems pointless until you actually try it and realize it's the only thing that's ever worked. Every morning before you do anything else, before you check your phone, before you make coffee, before you even think about your day, you sit still for 5 minutes. That's it. No meditation app, no guided breathing, no trying to clear your mind or achieve some enlightened state. You just sit there, in silence, and do nothing. Sounds like a waste of time, right? That's what I thought too. 5 minutes of sitting when you could be getting a head start on your day, answering emails, checking the news, doing something productive. But here's the thing. Those 5 minutes aren't about productivity. They're about reclaiming your brain before the world gets its hooks in you. The moment you wake up and grab your phone, you've already lost. Your brain goes from zero to chaos in seconds. Messages, notifications, news. Someone's problem that's now your problem. You haven't even gotten out of bed and you're already reacting instead of acting. Already scattered. Already 10 steps behind. And you'll stay that way all day because you never gave yourself a chance to start from center. The Japanese have a morning routine culture that's built into a lot of traditional practices. It's not flashy. It's just this quiet understanding that how you start your day determines how the rest of it goes. There's a reason tea ceremony exists. It's not about the tea. It's about the pause before everything else, the moment of stillness before the chaos. You don't need a tea ceremony. You just need 5 minutes. Sit on the edge of your bed, or in a chair, or on the floor. Close your eyes if you want, or stare at the wall. It doesn't matter. The point is to not be doing anything, not consuming anything, not reacting to anything, just existing in your own head for 5 minutes before the world starts making demands. At first, it's going to feel impossible. Your brain is going to scream at you. It's going to throw every urgent thought it can find at you. Things you need to do, things you forgot, things you're worried about. That's normal. Let them pass. Don't fight them. Don't engage. Just sit there and let your brain throw its tantrum while you wait it out. After a few days, something shifts. The thoughts still come, but they're quieter, less urgent. And you start to notice something interesting. Most of the stuff that felt so important first thing in the morning isn't actually important at all. It's just noise. And by giving yourself those 5 minutes before engaging with it, you create a buffer between you and the chaos. A space where you can decide what actually matters instead of just reacting to whatever screams loudest. I know this sounds like some self-help nonsense. Maybe it is. But I've been doing it for a while now, and the difference is real. I'm less reactive, less scattered, less exhausted by 10 a.m. Not because I'm doing less, I'm probably doing more, but because I'm starting from a place of calm instead of panic. And that changes everything. The ritual isn't magic. It's just giving yourself 5 minutes to exist before the world starts pulling you in 1,000 directions. 5 minutes to remember that you're a person, not just a collection of tasks and responses. 5 minutes to set the tone instead of letting the day set it for you. You don't have to do it forever. Just try it for a week. 5 minutes. First thing, before anything else. If it doesn't change anything, fine. You lost 35 minutes total. But if it works, if you notice even a small difference in how you feel throughout the day, then maybe it's worth keeping. Maybe those 5 minutes are the best investment you can make in not feeling exhausted all the time. The Japanese figured this out a long time ago. The rest of us are just catching up.